on timer. Seriously? Stork. Stork. It'll catch me shaking the fist. I'm resident of Collinwood, and yes, I was just threatening my timer. I'm joined here by my buddy Mark Gilman and my buddy Daniel Culver. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Doing good, doing really, really good. Not over Halloween yet, so I'm glad you're keeping it going for me.
Y-
I just
Yeah, we are because listen, everybody needs a distraction from election season.
yeah,
I know I do.
whole season.
just, just all the candidates just should wear Michael Myers masks as they talk, and it doesn't matter how hot they get under there. So all right, so we're here to discuss Halloween 2018, and I do have a weird question to start this. So, how responsible is Dr. Sartain for the bus crash, do you guys think?
That's actually a good question. I I think it's very possible he caused it.
Yeah, yeah. Mark, what do you think?
I think he's fully responsible for it. I think he set the whole thing in motion, and he kept talking about how Dr. Loomis was the only one that got to see Michael in the wild, and that's what he wanted. So to me, it's like, I guess to put a biblical spin on it, he was like John the Baptist to Michael Myers. He was the forerunner, the one who set things in motion and unleashed Michael, into the wild back in Haddonfield, and he planned it to be right on Halloween. So I think it wasn't coincidence. He set it all up.
I got a nicer reference for you. He's basically he wanted to be Steve Irwin.
Yeah, yeah. It's,
It's- yeah, right. I will say this that that little weapon he has that he ends up stabbing Hawkins with, I'm sort of wondering if that's what he picked Michael's handcuff locks with.
Mhm.
I don't think he like kills people on the bus. Like I mean, Sartain. I don't think he kills anybody, and I'm not trying to give him a benefit of doubt or pass. But I can't help but wonder, like when he had that thing, that little whatever it was, did he use that to just release Michael from his cuffs? That's my biggest question because I gotta believe he did. It's really I've never seen anything like that. I'm sure I don't know if you guys have. I haven't.
I have not. But you never know with movies. You know how you know movies they have like pens with weapons and stuff. I know
Right.
I
Well,
just said twice, but
no, right. That's a great point because a series I'm a fan of, MacGyver, who carries a Swiss Army knife. But he does. But here's the thing: I've seen him get people out of out of stuff with that knife. But I sort of do wonder. I think Sartain freed Myers, and he just sat there like as still as could be, like, don't hurt me, and just watched him like fucking do his shit.
Yeah.
But Sartain is like a really, really interesting character.
Mhm.
What did you guys think of the podcasters?
I thought they were interesting characters. And it does make sense. You know, if Michael Myers was real, there would probably be a lot of podcasters trying to interview Laurie Strode and probably other people that saw him.
Yeah. Mark,
Mhm.
what do you think?
I thought it was a cool way to kind of, they were a good gateway, like to kind of catch us up, almost like, which I'm not saying they're as good as Victoria Winners, but how we meet the Collins family through the eyes of Victoria Winners. And to me, this is like, they were information seekers, so we got to learn, and they kind of caught us up on things, on things that have happened the last 40 years. Through them, we learn where Michael is. Um, like who's been taking care of him, Dr. Sartain. We find out what Laurie Strode's been up to, kind of what happened to her through them. So I think they're important, but then it's kind of a big twist that, once they've served their purpose and we're all caught up on what's been going on in the last 40 years, Michael kills them brutally.
At the gas station.
Exactly. Buy movie now, guys. You're out of here.
I will say that H2O sort of they don't do H2O doesn't do podcasters. It does a deduction board.
Mm-hmm.
But Loomis's deduction board that Loomis felt he was out there somewhere. I sort of do wish H2O would have called up Robert Stack and did Unsolved Mystery. H2O. That would have been cool as shit. And here they do take good advantage of the Halloween podcasters, the true crime podcasters, if you will, by telling you all the information. It gives them nice people like, if you never watched the first movie, here's what happened,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everybody and their brother has watched that movie pretty much, unless you were living in my time and it was 1998 and H2O and nobody knew Jamie Lee Curtis was in a Halloween movie because, I had a classroom full of dipshits. Love you guys. But, like, I like this very much because it was smart.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wish if they were going to have any sort of Charlie Bowles connection with this, okay, they go to Judas gravestone. I love this shot. But so they're sort of not necessarily going back to 1963, but they're at least mention it in a sense. I wish one of them would have said, hey, what's really weird is in 63, there was this guy named Bowles who murdered his family. And according to the police report I read, it happened about the same time Michael killed his sister. Isn't that weird to you?
Mm-hmm.
If they would have mentioned that, then they would have had something. But they don't. I do like the true crime. I feel they have a good purpose, but they don't build them up to their full potential that they should have. Mm-hmm. For me, I like the characters though. Good job. My favorite is the Loomis recording. What did you guys think of that?
I actually like that.
Yeah,
I did too, and I loved how it's it just referred to Michael as being that he was just purely evil and that he must be destroyed.
It must die.
Yep, it must die.
I was like, let me tell you, that's listen to that recording.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely not a typical note that you get from a doctor.
Oh, definitely not.
Oh no, we get excuses from our doctor. If the doctor's starting to write die on our notes, let me tell you, hey doc, yeah.
It's time for a second opinion.
Yes, insurance. I need to switch my doctor.
Yeah.
He's really. I like what they do there. What did you guys think of the podcaster's interview with Laurie Strode?
That's a good question. I kind of could understand the question they asked. Well, the guy asked, like he said, like, when did you get your daughter back? I know she got offended, which is also understandable. That's where it's kind of complicated because I'm not sure if he crossed the line by asking her because that does seem like a question a podcaster would ask. But if I personally did the podcast, I would ask if you don't mind me asking first,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, but I guess so where they thought they were paying her $3,000, it kind of gave them a little bit of right to, they were entitled to some information because they were paying that much for it. But, the interview was short and sweet. And, it's enough to to paint a pretty good picture of where Lori was at, mentally, and, that she had been divorced twice, that she lost custody of her kid, Um, I mean, and it connects the dots well in a very short time. It doesn't drag it out. So I think it was done, pretty well. And I loved how she shut it down after maybe not even 2 minutes, and she goes and opens the door and holds her hand out like, I need to be paid. Where's my $3,000 for this?
They
So
they need to like create like a thing where you know what I need you need Rod Tidwell to be like, you know what I need you to do? Show me the money.
that's
For freaking Jerry Maguire.
mhm.
But I will say this, that the podcasters, they did not ask good questions of her, really. I mean, 2 minutes, I do feel like them being there was more just filler. Like, just, oh, here's Laurie Strode, here's. Their purpose for being there was sort of just Laurie. It sort of lets you know how far Laurie's gone mentally, I guess.
Mhm.
But to me, it's just like, well, here's this woman who's obsessed with Michael Myers. Um, so I mean, they could have did this with anybody. I like, I would have liked it to be more of an interview, not necessarily about 1978, but there's a question they could have asked, and that is, well, when do you feel he started following you?
Mhm.
There's just, again, to me, there's times that the true crime podcasters scream amateur hour, and the Laurie Strode interview is when that is. And here's this character who's one of the most important characters in Halloween history, and you're not really asking her great questions, and there are questions you could ask her.
Mhm. And I think they were trying to ultimately bait her to get a reaction of her um,
Yeah.
meeting with Michael. And, I mean, that would have been great for their, because everyone, like she said, there's nothing new I can tell you. They knew that no other people that had interviewed her in the past had, really succeeded in getting anything out of her. And, here they come with this information. He's being transported. Did you know that he's being transported?
Yeah.
What if we take you to him? What would you like to say to him and face him? And, I think at that point, that's when she, got up and opened the door.
Yeah.
I mean, I think but they showed their hand too early, that they were
Yeah.
trying to bait her into facing against Michael.
Yeah, I think that when you have character, right, Sartain's not the only character who's pushing for a confrontation. The podcasters are too. And I think
Mhm.
that's the thing. When you have characters like that, who basically the podcasters and Sartain are what, though Sartain's a bit evil, before he becomes that, he's a bit of a, there are a lot of MacGuffins in Halloween 2018 that are trying to push the story along. And it's not that they're bad MacGuffins, it's just that it's like, okay, you didn't have to make that so obvious there, buddy. But I do like them. Now, what did you guys think of their deaths?
I I thought how their kill off was pretty good.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Mark,
it was pretty grisly. I think where she was the female podcaster, and I can't think of her name right off the top of my head. Um, where like when she first went in the bathroom, she was so germ conscious and everything, and then when Michael came in, she was crawling through the floors in this disgusting gas station bathroom. I mean, and it just showed like, how far she was willing to go to survive, and like a snap of a finger. And what they did to I think um Aaron may have been the male podcaster's name, when Michael was ramming his head into the wall. That was nasty. That was pretty nasty. So it really showed um a lot of strength that Michael had. That he was going to be pretty brutal in this movie.
I like how they show. You're right. Aaron's the male's name, I believe. How Aaron's walking through the gas station. He's seeing the dead bodies.
Mm-hmm.
What happened here?
Mm-hmm.
Because once he goes in, there he sees Michael Myers, and
Mm-hmm.
he's talking to him, and you could tell he's afraid.
Yeah.
And I think Michael feeds off of that and just kills him. But great scene. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the best, I think, just kill scenes, and really the fact that you get a character trying to interact with Michael, because that's something I wasn't expecting him to do, to try to talk to him again, because we'd seen that at the sanitarium,
Mm-hmm.
which is really good. Again, the one thing I like about this, though, too, is something we don't see in Resurrection from the internet guy: people standing their ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we need to see with characters. Excuse me. But it's, though they get killed, the man did try to fight Michael, and that was
Yeah.
something we don't really. Again, it's something I appreciated out of Freddie Harris. Hey, I'm going to fight for my life here, and that's something you should do. And I love that. There's a lot of great confrontation in 2018.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and at this time, Michael would be, um, I would think about 61,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
So, I mean, I guess you wouldn't really think that a 61-year-old could mess you up that bad. And yeah, I mean, so he was, Aaron was probably about half his age, I'm guessing, and or roughly. And I bet he probably never dreamed that someone that was almost twice his age could have that kind of power.
yeah. There needs to be like a thing where someone needs to make a thing where Michael's standing in the courtyard all over again, but on the inside of his head, he's lifting like 600-pound weights or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
He just kicks the shit out of that guy. But really, really good scene. What did you guys think of Allison and her friends?
Um, I'd say they're good characters, and they do basically seem like your average teenagers, but there's not really wrong with that. And I do like how they talked about the rumor that Michael Myers was Laurie's brother. What's weird though is, I don't know if you noticed, but you notice in the full movie, well, I should say the movie, it's actually changed from the trailer. Like the trailer has a different line. I mean, it's basically the same, but it's worded differently.
Yeah, well, there's the full length. It's weird because in the trailer, we're not getting the full length conversation. And you're right, it is changed because there's a full length conversation in the movie where they say, "Hey, it's Halloween. Aren't you worried that Michael Myers, is going to come after? Wasn't that her brother?" And she's like, "No, it's a rumor someone made up."
Mhm.
And it's great that they do this because, okay, great, you've now separated yourself from the sister connection. Great job.
Mhm.
That's, again, you should have a new character do that because it makes the new character credible, which they did. What did you
Mhm.
think, Mark?
I agree. I thought they were, I mean, they were like typical teenagers, but they were very likable people. They weren't, aggravating and annoying to a point like where you wish they would get killed, like some certain other slasher movies. Um, I think they were all pretty, pretty likable people. So, um, and I think we mentioned this in one of our other shows we did in the last few weeks, when the character of Dave was talking about Michael Myers, how he was downplaying what he did. He was like, "Yeah, he killed 3 people. That's not really a big deal." And I guess it shows how like we hear of a lot of mass shootings and and different things, and the numbers are much higher, it would seem like it's not such a big deal. But I mean, it just shows how it really can be, and how um, I guess how desensitized and things that you can get as time goes on. But they were about to get a pretty cruel reminder of what Michael can do.
Yeah, I like how he sets the he blows up the pumpkin with a firework, I think, or a firecracker, I believe, or something.
Mhm.
But see, Dave's which we call a dead man walking in a horror movie when he's
Yeah,
talking shit on Michael Myers. That's what that is. But it's, it's really crazy. So,
much have the bullseye.
what was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said when he said that, about Michael, and that it wasn't really a big deal. Yeah, that was pretty much a dead giveaway that he wasn't going to be in the sequel.
Just put corpse on the walking body there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh Jesus! But yeah, I like the three teenagers. I like the fact that you get this conversation, you get a fresh new perspective of what they think of Michael, each of them really, which is nice.
Mhm.
And I don't think necessarily Allison's downplaying it either, though. Too, she's
Mhm.
just more like, hey, look, we're not related to him. That's you know, but I like that. So, what
Mhm.
did you guys think of Officer Hawkins?
I thought he was a pretty good character. And I don't know if it's just me, but does he look like kind of like Brackett to you guys?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's really weird
Mhm.
because as you know, he's obviously a different character, but they never did anything with that. Like, I was hoping they would say like he was his cousin or something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think they could have even gotten away with saying it was his son, but
Mhm.
you know, I do think that is one of the biggest missed opportunities there to give Brackett a son, and where his sister Annie got killed, and you could have that emotion, and it would have been really believable too, to where okay, this guy killed my sister, and he chose to stop Dr. Loomis from killing him, and that ate him up over the years even more. I mean, the actor who plays Hawkins is a great actor. Will
Mhm.
Patton, a lot of his movies, he ends up stealing the movies he's in with other actors.
Mhm.
There's a spy movie where he's in a movie with Gene Hackman and freaking Kevin Costner, and he steals that movie from them.
Yeah, he
Uh,
does.
and it's a great movie. And it's like, holy shit, this is great. And there was a movie called Fled that he played a detective in, and he steals the movie from Lawrence Fishburne and one of the Baldwin brothers, I forget which. But
Mhm.
he always does a great job.
Mhm.
And I agree with Daniel. I do wish they would have did something a little more with that, but I'm glad they let the character live for the rest of the series, though they did run him over. I think I think they were going for the Halloween goof up thing. I think running him over was a little too far,
You know what's weird though? I was actually surprised he survived.
Mhm.
right? Right?
Yeah, I was hoping when they got when he got run over that maybe it was just his leg or something like that. That it wasn't, they didn't like run over his chest or his head or something. So, because I was really wanting Hawkins to come back because I really loved his character a lot.
Yeah. I, maybe maybe again, I'm I'll defend it. Maybe the tire caught the leg. Maybe maybe we don't know, but the character's really good. He does a great job like always. And I
Mhm.
love the interaction, not just with him and Sartain, but with really him and Lori is really telling in that first
Yeah.
one. What did you guys think of that?
Oh, and him and you mean when they first interacted?
Yeah, when Hawkins and Lori were interacting together.
Um, To be honest, I don't really have much to say about it.
That's okay.
For me, you could tell, like, because I think the first time that that they interacted in the movie, I didn't get to watch the movie, unfortunately, to prepare for our show tonight. But I think it was like he was aiming a gun, and she had a gun, and they kind of bumped into each other and scared each other, and it was just, you could tell that there was, like, a friendship and a history there, a long history there between the two of them. And I was interested in, finding out more and learning more about the backstory between them. But I I thought they seemed to have, a pretty good chemistry between them.
They did, and I love how when Laurie Strode says, "I prayed he would escape," and he's like, why would you do that?"
Yeah.
And it really disturbed. Like, even Hawkins is questioning her mental sanity at this point, and
Mhm.
he even says
Oh,
it to Sartain, which is really a great follow up to it. Again, they had really good character building in some of this. Unfortunately, some of these characters are going to end up deader than Casper. But
right.
they, you have Dave, his girlfriend, the one guy that like tries to kiss Allison. You, um,
Oh yeah,
Sart-
Oscar.
Oscar, yeah, Sartain gets killed. The one, a neighbor gets, like, this random neighbor girl gets killed. This old lady gets killed.
Mhm.
I mean, you just have and just there's like scenes where there's like there's bodies dropping all over the place.
Mhm.
But so, what did you guys think of the kills in this movie?
Well, I thought the kills were pretty good.
Mhm.
And I know I mentioned this before, but I especially like the pumpkin one because it's weird how they didn't do that in past Halloweens because that seems like something that happened in a movie called Halloween.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What did you think, Mark?
I thought the kills were really creative. You can tell they really put a lot of thought into making them something spectacular and very memorable. And at the same time, the ones that weren't over the top and creative, like you were talking about, how some of them happened off screen. You could just hear it, like when Michael was um, walking, up and down the houses and in the streets of Haddonfield during Trick or Treat. That's my favorite sequence of the movie, when Michael goes in Haddonfield and he's just stalking around, going into people's yards, going into their houses, killing people. Then he'll just, walk into the next place. And that's my favorite sequence of the movie, just the way Haddonfield looks. Even those, simple kills, that there's nothing spectacular looking about them, they're still very effective.
You know what I'd like to see in a Halloween?
What's that?
Where you see the town of Haddonfield and the camera's going as the wind's blowing and it just stops and you're going towards this house and you don't know why. You're going around the house and you just hear breathing. You know it's Michael. And then here's this girl who's in the shower. And again, the wind's blowing. So she comes out of her shower. She wraps the towel. She hears bang, 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 bang. What is that? She comes down. Here, the screen door is banging so hard because of the wind. And she opens the door. She grabs it. As she's grabbing it to latch it, there's Michael in her kitchen, standing behind her, staring at her, watching her. She turns around. He's not there. She doesn't know that he's in her house.
Mhm.
But that's, to me, I do feel I wish we'd had something like that in this movie. We do get Michael sort of standing in the yard and he kills Oscar. That's how he ends up killing Oscar, which is nice. But my favorite kill is when the girl's on the phone and he comes up behind her and just goes, bam. It's such a great kill because it looked like the girl was worried about something. I don't know if she just heard about the escape first or what, or
Mhm.
heard like Michael's out there.
Mhm.
But still, it's a great kill. What's you guys' favorite kill?
I'd definitely say the pumpkin one. Even I know that's probably I know I mentioned that already, but yeah.
No, what was
Yeah,
yours?
I would say that's my the pumpkin one is my favorite off-screen kill, and um, I think I've got a tie for my favorite, and it's the female podcaster and the one that you were just talking about, the girl that was looking outside, because one of the best shots in the movie, I think, is when it shows her, just kind of pacing back and forth while she's on the phone, and you see the reflection of Michael's mask in the mirror or in the window.
Yeah.
And then when he goes around and she turns around and sees he's there, and he slams her head once, and then all of a sudden you see the knife pierce through her throat, and he just slams her head back down and just walks out like it's no big deal. So
Right.
that was a pretty brutal, frightening kill.
Oh yeah, with on screen, I would actually say my favorite kill is Sartain because I know it sounds harsh, but I feel he deserved it because, you know, when he became a murderer, he kind of betrayed, being a doctor and all that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That was a well-deserved death.
He, what was you guys' or sorry, what was you guys' favorite score in the movie?
I would say the Halloween theme basically. I think it's a little different. I I shouldn't say I think. I think if I remember correctly, isn't it slightly different? But it's still, the Halloween theme is pretty good.
Yeah.
I actually do have the soundtrack, but I don't listen to it all the time. I know people are probably gonna give me crap. Like he's like, they're probably gonna say he said he thinks it sounds different. Pretty sure it is, but yeah, if it doesn't, oh well.
No, it is a bit different. I mean, I think each Halloween theme you hear, for the most part, in the movies is different from the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what makes them all unique. I think
Right.
the only one that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Rob Zombie uses John's original score for
Mm-hmm.
his movies, I
But
believe.
there's actually a fun fact about the Halloween theme. I used to have the Halloween theme as my cell phone ringtone, but
Mhm.
then one day I watched Halloween and I couldn't figure out if my phone was ringing or if it was the movie.
God, nice.
I like that. What's your favorite score, Mark?
Um, I would say it's probably I can't think of the name of the actual musical piece or the song title, but it's the music that's playing and he first gets on the streets of Haddonfield and he's going through the trick or treating and everything. But also there's a part of the music after he kills Oscar and hangs him up on the fence. Um, you can hear an electric guitar like hitting a really heavy note, like boom, like that, and it's just like really, really gets into your soul. Like you can feel the power and the evil in Michael, and you just see him turn around slowly, and it zooms in on his mask. It was really good.
I think the one with Oscar is Allison's is the shape chasing Allison, I do
Mhm.
believe. The other one in the streets, I'm not sure about that one. I'll look it up and see if I can find it.
Mhm.
But my favorite one, obviously, is I'm with Daniel. Is the Halloween theme. I think the fact that we're this far into the franchise, we're whatever installment this is, and the fact that the Halloween theme is fresh again is a testament to John and the whole team, and really to everybody who's ever done the Halloween theme, because it would be all too easy to make it sound like the original, but
Mhm.
to add that little bit of difference really is impressive.
Mhm.
What did you guys think of? Um, well, we sort of covered Sartain's death. What did you guys think of Sartain talking to Alice and say, well, what did because I like how she lies to him. She goes, he said something to me. What did you guys think of that?
I thought, it made total sense,
Mhm.
she was trying to trick him, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when she dropped the F-bomb, that was a that was a funny response. But yeah, I mean that's what I would think too if Michael suddenly, became conscious again and was in the back seat with me and I was, handcuffed to the door. That's pretty much what I would be thinking too. But um I thought it was something and a good way to I guess bribe or counter what Sartain was trying to do to her because I mean she knew that he was holding her there to be killed. So
Yeah.
try to find out what it was that made Michael kill. Did it have something to do with the mask, or was it something totally different?
I like the fact that often enough times we'll see protagonists lie to get themselves out of situations, and she
Hmm.
tries to, which is great. It's
Hmm.
that is a really good job by Andy Matiachek
Hmm.
and character there because it lets you know the character isn't necessarily trying to be flawed, but the character's trying to save her ass because
Hmm.
there's no white knight here in this situation, and she
Right.
knows it. And I think that's one of the best things about 2018. There's times you're letting the character save themselves, which is
Hmm.
great. So she's trying to convince Sartain, hey, he said something to me.
Hmm.
Listen, when Michael wakes up and she says fuck, I'm like, yeah, yeah, it was nice. At first, I was like, it was nice knowing you.
Yeah.
It's like, this girl's gonna get killed. But no, Michael's like, what the fuck? Why am I in a car? Bam!
Hmm. Yep.
I like how he's sitting in the back and he just kicks the seat.
Yeah, that was pretty insane.
Right, because you weren't expecting it, right?
Mm-mm,
Like,
not at all. No, I thought Allison was screwed.
like we're at least like I was expecting him to like grab Sartain the way he grabbed Annie. That's what I was like, not kick the seat, but when he kicks the seat and the car stops and it's like, then she's getting out of there. I'm like, girl, run, just run. Don't look back.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and he just stomps the shit out of Sartain's head. But yeah, it was something else. What did you think, Daniel? I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine. I agree with you. You know, she could have easily been screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it it's really strange that he's like, did he say was it Judith? And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, and then when Michael wakes up, it's like, oh Jesus Christ. We've seen Lori. I know like Halloween gets into Fate, but I swear to God, if it's not Lori, it's like one of her whatever relatives between her daughter and her granddaughter. They just have bad luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just Michael waking up in the back seat with you. That
Yeah.
might top Ben Tramer's Kentucky Fried Chicken skeleton.
True. True.
That might do it.
Mhm. And it's
It's
all
really
King's fault for setting all of that up.
right. Paul, that son of a. But yeah, he's good old John Carpenter. But I will say it's really interesting that again he doesn't grab. That's what shocked me. He doesn't like because we saw how Annie died and the boy died too, where Michael was in the back seat and he grabs him. But no, he doesn't grab Sartain here. He just uses his feet and kicks the seat up, which is really cool. What did you guys think of Lori's like house and the seclusionness of it?
I don't really think much of it, to be honest, but I did like how she had those mannequins for shooting.
Yeah. What did you think, Mark?
I thought they did a really good job of, like, how they just showed up. I mean, showed off. I mean, how she just let paranoia completely consume her life. I mean, you could see all the guns, all the target ranges and things set up in her house, um, and how people that live with these crazy extreme you know ideas and conspiracies and things will barricade themselves in to try to protect themselves. um, and I mean, to us and to the outside world, I mean, think about it. She's doing this for 40 years. I mean, yeah, you think she'd lost her mind.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she'd had run-ins with the police and, people saying that she was crazy and, calling in, all this and all that on her.
Mm.
But um, I thought it was really something. But I mean, I will say Lori was ripped in this, like Sarah Connor ripped. So they really did a good job of showing, how she kept herself in shape, and she was always ready for a fight.
Yeah, I think that when you're preparing, and you have a character who's so focused on killing another,
Hmm.
you do need to have that preparation, and she was.
Hmm.
I think. Do I think they made this very, very different from what H2O was, and that's a good thing because you don't want to have your film be the same as something else,
Hmm.
and where because the key difference for me is where Laurie Strode was, telling, made her son, trying to make her son as paranoid as her, and he had enough of it. Where you did have a character in her daughter where she had enough of it, but the granddaughter, to me, Allison, was more of a neutral character between the two
Hmm.
parties, which was nice to see because you don't see that too often.
Hmm.
And so she was making up her own mind, which is nice. I
Hmm.
love the house. I love the mannequins. I do wish they would have had Michael sort of going between the mannequins, where Allison was in, and Allison couldn't tell the difference between the mannequins and Michael. That would have been a neat thing.
Yeah.
They don't, but I do wish they would have had it. I thought that's what the setup was for. Like they're gonna play to that, but no. I think they. I love how, and we said about. Uh, I know me and Mark had talked about before about they don't show the cops get killed. I think the reason they don't show the cops get killed is because Sartain's gruesome death is right before it, because his head got caved in.
Hmm.
But I do sort of wish, because to me, like, I think they could have got away with showing it, in my opinion.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
What do you think?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that because I can't remember the Rob Zombie ones really? Um, that's the first time we ever saw Michael like stomp and bash someone's head, right?
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, because now in Rob's, if you remember, in his first one, there's a couple moments where he's bashing things in because he beats the one kid to death with a fucking
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
stabs him. Then the boyfriend, Judas' boyfriend, he beats him with a fucking baseball bat. That's where he caves someone's fucking head in. But yeah, that Rob, to me, Rob's Halloweens were the first one time we saw a head really get caved in. Now with the old Halloweens, if you watch though, Michael grabs people by the head and he's crushing their
And
skull.
crush, right?
But
Yeah,
they don't like cave. They don't like cave in it. I think the closest there's two moments to me that stick out. Number one is Halloween 4 is the thumb to the head
yeah,
and the second one, if you pay attention to Halloween 4, Sasha Jensen's character gets squeezed and his neck like goes in, and you hear the popping and
yeah.
you sort of see it, and
Hmm.
it's really, really like holy
It's
shit.
sick. Yeah, it's pretty sick looking.
It is. But what did you think, Daniel?
About the thing you were talking about, the stomping.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty brutal. Well, I guess that's kind of obvious, but yeah, it's pretty brutal.
Well, did you think that like they could have showed them the 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 police officers getting carved like pumpkins?
Oh, sorry, I kind of lost track a bit. Yeah, I actually think it would have been better to show that, but it kind of makes sense they didn't too. Maybe it would have cost too much, or maybe they thought it was too brutal.
Yeah, I think it leave. I appreciate it leaves something to the imagination, but I
Mhm.
just think they can't show it because of where necessarily of where it's at in the movie.
Right.
Because Sartain's death is so brutal,
Mhm.
and they choke out Allison's dad.
Mhm.
Michael's fingers get blown off. I mean, it's a very quick sequence. I
Mhm.
mean, they happen. Halloween 2018 is a very fast-paced movie.
Yeah.
It's not a movie that slows down really too. The slowest it goes is when they're in that car. It's like when Sartain's being a jackass.
Yeah.
But what did you guys think of the final? Well, I won't say final showdown, but the showdown between Michael and Laurie in the house.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah,
Mm.
Mark, what did you think?
Oh man, I loved it, and I still okay. This was I don't know about. I know not for you, Jewel, but for me, this was my first time seeing a Halloween movie in a theater. And
Oh, same with me actually.
yeah, so when I watched this, where Lori is going room to room with the gun, she's checking it out, making sure it's clear, and then she's shutting the room off with the shutters
Yeah,
one by one. I still feel that same tension that I feel when I saw this for the first time. I thought it was very, very well done. And then when she gets in that storeroom upstairs, and you get a wink and a nod to the closet scene from the first one, and when you see Michael hiding behind the mannequins, and he pushes one over and attacks her, that's great. And then when you see Lori get a good hit and actually blow his fingers off, that was that was a surprise for me. I didn't think that was going to happen.
yeah. What did you think, Daniel?
Oh, I thought that scene was pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Actually, it's interesting you mentioned seeing that in theaters because believe it or not, I don't usually go to theaters. Usually, I wait for the DVD or Blu-ray, but I made an exception for this movie.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think I would. This was. Well, let me think. I think yeah. This was Halloween 2018. Was the last Halloween I saw in the Uniontown Theater.
Mhm.
Uh, Thank you, AMC. No, not thank you because you left Fayette County, jackasses. But there, I do think that it's really, really good to see this fight sequence take place in a house,
Mhm.
especially a house that's designed to trap Michael. And here he's in there. I mean, look, you're in there with the most dangerous serial killer ever, and you have two other people with you. And I think what really sells it too, we're not really sure about Karen, what Karen's going to do, or if she'll do any goddamn thing.
Mhm.
Sort of makes it really interesting that okay, well, when Michael sort of somewhat disposes of Lori, Karen tricks Michael.
Yeah.
So that was really, really well done. What did you guys think?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with you. That's pretty well done. Oh, but I also want to say that I actually saw this at an AMC as well.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I thought it was really, really well done too. And I just I just loved everything about the ending and seeing Karen break, because when she was breaking down and crying and saying, "Mom, I can't do this alone," and then she said, "Gotcha," that it got me too. That was a nice surprise. And the way that they trapped him underneath, I didn't think that there was any way he was getting out.
Oh, yeah, I liked how they trapped too. Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, I liked how they.
No, I'm done. You're good, dude.
Yeah, the fact that they had him down there. I like how Michael falls down on the steps
Mm-hmm.
and going to get up, he grabs one of them by the ankle, and boom, they stab his hand, and they slam it shut. And here it wasn't a panic room; it was a trap,
Yeah.
and which is really good.
Yeah, I did like that twist.
Yeah, right. That was so good. Lori's got her house ready to go up like a Christmas tree.
Uh-huh.
But like I secretly think Jamie Lee Curtis saw how quickly Ben Tramer was disposed of in Halloween 2 and just remembered it and said, okay, let's rig a house up here to
Mm-hmm.
pry Michael's ass. What did you guys think of the traps in the house?
I thought they were pretty good, especially like the one we were talking about where he was trapped under the house, and then you know it's actually interesting though. If you pay close attention, Michael Myers' body is gone at the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think, Mark?
I thought that it was great. Lori's had 40 years to figure this out and design these traps, and she had her kid taken away from her, and she's just had all this time and all her money to spend you know on rigging this house for destroying the boogeyman,
Yeah.
and for killing the boogeyman. And I thought it was a nice payoff. And the fact that they had the knife, his knife, Allison had it when they left, was kind of a neat twist. And you think, you take Michael's knife away, and I mean, I thought, I know he's going to find some way to get out of this, but I have no idea how, because he doesn't have a weapon. He's got nothing down there.
I like how he uses the one door that he goes in there and hides,
Hmm.
and the firefighters come. Lori's screaming, "Let it burn,
Yeah.
burn!" It's like, yeah.
One time I was talking to this movie to one of my neighbors, and he actually asked me, "How did Michael Myers?" Well, he's asked me, "How did he escape?" And I said, "We'll have to wait until Halloween Kills comes out."
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like, well, when someone asks you, well, it's like asking how David Copperfield escapes from things. He just does.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's true.
He just does. That's funny because David Copperfield is in the original Terror Train,
Hmm.
and like he's showing off all his, like Terror Train did not introduce me to David Copperfield. I had been watching David Copperfield,
Hmm.
and my mom's like, he's in a horror movie. I'm like, no, he's not. And she's like, yeah, he's in. When I was a kid, she's like, he's in the original Terror Train. I'm like, you got to show me that one. And she did, and I was like, it's great to see a magician show off their craft. They're showing off how they can perform to basically get jobs,
Hmm.
just so they're in this movie. Ben Johnson and Jamie Lee Curtis's chemistry is good in that movie too.
Hmm.
Really, really good. And yes, I saw the remake. It's all right. It's all right.
What did you guys think about the mask in this movie?
Oh, I actually liked it. I know it probably looks like that, as a reference to Rob Zombie's Halloween, because it was referencing the other movies, but I think they did a good job, especially considering this was supposed to be 40 years later.
Yeah. I think that they wanted the mask to look aged,
Hmm.
and it did. I look, I liked how it looked. I've never had a problem with any of the mask
Hmm.
ever.
That's good. Good. Yeah. How did you feel? And I guess I felt something different because this was the first Halloween movie that I saw in a theater. But how did you feel when, after he killed the podcasters and you see him putting on the mask again for the first time?
Well, in 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
I sort of wish they would have. Again, the mask to me, Michael's mask, I guess my importance is different than you guys's. And that's, I don't think Michael's mask, to me, the most time it was important was in the original.
Mm-hmm.
With with the other movies, the reason not so much is not because the Moe's masks were bad. It's because we've seen Michael without the mask. We know he kills without it.
Mm-hmm.
Not just
That's
in
a good point.
2018. I mean, even in the original, he kills without it. He kills the tow truck worker. So I think Michael's mask, for me, him putting it back on is letting you know that it's sort of like the line in wrestling: business is about to pick up, and it is.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool when he was putting on the mask too. Well, for those that don't know, I guess you probably already figured out since we were talking about the design. But for those that don't know, this is not the original Halloween mask. The original is not in good condition. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a picture of it.
Yeah, wasn't it under Deborah Hill's bed or in a shoebox or something?
I think that's correct. I think it was under her bed. It might have been a shoebox, but I know she was a smoker too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it was stained a little bit when Dick Warlock wore it in Halloween 2. But he said that he kept one of the masks, so I'm guessing there was more than one. So, but yeah, he he wore it for the I guess for his audition as the stunt guy, and uh, he walked into Rick Rosenthal's office for the interview wearing the mask and just stood there in the doorway and didn't say anything. And Rick was like, "Who are you?" And he didn't say anything. And he just stood there for like 15 seconds. And he said that Rick got up from his desk and started screaming at him to get out of there. And then he took it off and said, "Yeah, I'm Dick Warlock. I'm your stunt coordinator." And he said, "And just, as a favor, is there any way can I be Michael Myers in this movie?" And he told him, "Yeah."
I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that Nick Castle used to put the mask in his pocket too. I don't really get if that's true. I don't know if that's true or not, like I said, but to me that doesn't really make sense. Why would you put a mask in your pocket?
Well, here's the thing too. Like, have you ever wore the mask?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
I know Mark has. I
I
have.
mean, I know. Oh no, I haven't actually.
It's like I dressed as Michael Myers. I know Mark has too. That mask is latex. It's hot. Like
Yeah.
my wife, when I first wore it, she saw my face was covered in
Mm-hmm.
sweat. And here's the thing: in Pennsylvania, it's cold and fall. My face was still sweating. My wife goes, "When we get home, put baby powder on your face so the
Mm-hmm.
mask doesn't stick to you." Because
Right.
put that back on. And she actually did me a favor. She stopped at a store, went in and bought me baby powder. So
Oh.
we didn't have to go all the way home because we had other trick or treating to do. So
Mm-hmm.
she said, "Put this on your face." So I'm like putting it on my face, and she was right. My
Mm-hmm.
face didn't stick, and the baby powder actually cooled my face off.
Mm-hmm.
But it really it makes your I could see somebody put or Nick Castle put it in his pocket because wearing that thing all the time is just you're gonna sweat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I could see that.
It,
I'd put on a table or something, but that maybe that wasn't available. You know.
yeah. If you ever buy Michael Myers mask, put it on. I promise you, you will be sweating so bad.
You know, I thought about getting one before, but they're kind of expensive. They're not like super expensive, but they're like $50 or $60. And I heard they're kind of hard to take care of. You know.
Well, the one I originally had was just it had a string on the back. That one I had when I had my Michael Myers costume. That's all it was a string and the Michael Myers mask, and it was just like I wore it. I had my own hair, not
Mm-hmm.
like now, obviously, but they're really again. it's hot underneath. It's hot underneath any mask, but when you're wearing latex and you're like the coveralls don't make you sweat because again, here's the thing. I wore I would just be in my underwear underneath the coveralls because that was I'm just because Michael Myers is like probably naked, but I wasn't going that far. So it's like, I'm like, I'm not doing that. But we were standing. It was in Uniontown by this church by the old Sylvian Heights Cemetery, and people were in line. There's all these kids, and they're looking at me. And this one kid's like, I thought you said he wasn't real, and he's looking right at me, and I'm not breaking character or nothing. My son's standing there holding my hand. I'm just like holding my kid's hand, like my son's not scared of me because he knows who I am. And and the woman's like, well, he's holding the little boy's hand, and I just stood there, and not said shit. Kids coming up to me saying hi, hi. I'm just looking at him, tilting my head, not saying shit. The priest comes up to me. He goes, "Bless you, son."
Nice.
Inside, I'm thinking, I smile. I'm like, I about wanted to laugh, but I tilt my head at him and walked away from him. The one girl my wife worked with at the time, she was dressed as Snow White, and I stood behind her, and I looked at her, and she turned around, she's like, and I guess her boyfriend called me, and he goes, you got lucky, you didn't get your throat slashed. I'm like,
to a 6'4" person dressed as Michael Myers.
right.
Exactly. just shut up and get moving, dude.
Well, could you imagine if you're dressed like Rob Zombie's Halloween? I mean, sorry, I meant Rob Zombie's Michael Myers.
Well, Taylor Maine is 6'10". Taylor Maine's taller than me. So, I mean, well, here's the thing. Taylor Maine used to wrestle on WCW, but I mean, he was a wrestler, so he actually played the original Sabretooth in the X-Men movies.
Yep.
So, to me, he doesn't get enough credit for the early Sabretooth. That's what I'll say. Because they've recasted that since then, but.
Oh yeah, if anyone's wondering why I said Rob Zombie's Halloween, it's I'm used to saying Rob Zombie's Halloween, usually not in a good way though. Usually, like if someone asked me, say which movie sucks, I'd say Rob Zombie's 2 Halloween movies.
You could listen. You could have ended up like me. Did you see it in theaters?
Oh no, I didn't.
Did you, Mark? Did you see Rob's?
No, we didn't have a movie theater here then, or where I lived at. You had to drive about an hour and a half to get to a movie theater, and I couldn't do that.
We were. This was like Rob Zombie's Halloween and Halloween 2. I saw both of them at what was the Connellsville Drive-In, or the walk-in, I should say. And my brother, I saw the first one with my brother, and we're sitting there. Julie was with us. Fucking, the movie ended, and people started chanting, "Fuck you, Rob Zombie!" And I'm thinking,
oh, wow.
And I'm just like, yeah, it's time to go. But
yeah.
Wow. I'm like, it's a fucking movie. What the fuck are you screaming at for?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like,
wow.
First of all, Rob Zombie isn't in the movie theater. You know, these people, and here's the thing. I should have predicted that was going to happen because my brother, a lot of people we knew were like, how dare they? I know you guys did this, but how dare they remake John Carpenter's Halloween? I'm sure you guys heard that too. And it's just like, okay, well, did they? We don't know that yet. I mean, we're going into a movie we haven't seen. So we saw it, and I was just like, and then people started screaming. I'm like, it's time to leave.
Yeah. Definitely time to leave.
They
So,
didn't do that for the. They didn't do that for Halloween. His Halloween too.
mhm.
But hey,
Now, I will admit, I think Rob Zombie's Halloween would be good if it was an original movie instead of a remake.
well here's the question I asked somebody who was irate about it more than I am. Because here's the thing, I try not to get irate anymore. I'm getting too old. But here's the question I asked somebody. I said, why did they okay, here's Trancus at the time and here's what was it? Dimension.
Mhm.
They already had the sister connection going. Why did they just turn around and reboot the sister connection when they already had that going? That's out of all that, when I go back and I look at Rob Zombie's Halloweens, that's what doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
Because it's like, I don't know how to put it. Okay, it would be like if you were in like if you were watching a series
Mhm.
and the series is in its third season and they decide to reboot it for no reason, but they're not going to necessarily change too much. It's like, well, then what's the point? Or they're
Mhm.
going to go with the similar plot concept. Then what was the point of rebooting it? So
Mhm.
that's sort of my point with Rob Zombie's Halloween's. It's like, okay, so they didn't want to do the sister connection, but they turned around and did what with Rob's? The sister connection.
Mhm.
It's like that's what didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, for me, that's one of many things, and I'm not going to say he made a bad movie. He and I just had very very different visions of what Halloween was, but I'd heard that he had always wanted in some way to make it a twist and somehow like Lori was the killer the whole time. But I just I don't know. I just don't know like what happened with with the way that he did the stories that he did. They just don't seem to connect well for me.
Well, the thing of it is, in his Halloween too, Lori could have been the killer easily. But the
Hmm.
problem is, Michael's there, and
Yeah.
you know, you could have, they could have had it where no one else is seeing Michael but her. Again, I talked about this with H2O that for
Hmm.
me, H2O should have, I would have loved to have seen the murders get pinned on Lori there, because who's the one talking about Michael Myers? Who's the one obsessed? She is.
Hmm.
Again, it's okay to do that, but if you have an alternate plan, oh no, it's been Michael Myers the whole time. That's one thing. Whereas in Rob's, if they were gonna do Lori, okay, she's the only one who's seeing him, but she's the one doing the murders. But when she does the murders, we're seeing Michael. They're fucking with us. That would have been great.
Hmm. And something we couldn't have seen coming.
Right, because they do hint. The one thing I'll say with Rob's too, because yes, I went back and watched it. I'm going to hell. But they do hint that she has mental problems, that she's having, there's something up here. So okay, if that's the case, I buy it, because again, she realizes she's related to this killer, so she's having these issues with people keeping secrets from her. Okay, here's your chance to capitalize on it. You know.
Hmm.
What do you guys want to add? You guys can have the floor.
Oh, I actually did want to state with the Rob Zombies movies. If you guys do, well, not you guys, but whoever releases the 4K, if you do release it on 4K, please include the theatrical cuts.
Yes. That's another weird thing too with that. When Rob's Halloweens were released, Rob Zombie has said that his Halloween 2 was a product of studio interference, was victimized by studio interference.
That's
Here,
what
here's the thing. I don't think that just started with his second one. I think that started with the release of his first Halloween movie, when whoever decided to, well, let's just release the unrated version. Here's the thing. Rob Zombie's Halloween was not the first film released as an unrated movie. I forget what horror movie was, but usually when a unrated movie gets released, usually the theatrical cut is either on a separate disc or on the same one if the film's short enough.
right.
Rob's movie, when it got released as unrated, guess what wasn't on there? The theatrical. It's like, I looked at my brother, I'm like, where's the theatrical version that we saw? Why isn't it on this disc or the next one? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, that makes no sense.
Mhm.
What does the theatrical cut have the same ending as the unrated?
Here's the thing. The theatrical cut, here's what's different about it. Dr. Loomis isn't an asshole. Okay. Let me think. I'm trying to think of everything that's different. They're not necessarily, how do I put this? Because I haven't seen the theatrical cut in so long. I've seen the unrated version now so many times because that's the one I own on DVD. But trying to think. Again, there's tiny bits of difference where the unrated version alters it a little bit different. I don't think there's a different ending, mind you, if I remember correctly. I don't think the ending changes necessarily. Well, actually, sorry, yes. In the theatrical version, you don't see Loomis move, like when Michael Myers does something to him. Where in the unrated version, you do. Like
Oh, I see.
Loomis is still alive in the unrated version. Where the theatrical version, you could probably presume he's dead.
Oh, I see. I was just wondering because there's an alternate ending that I think is actually better. In the alternate ending, there was, instead of Lori, you know, shooting Michael Myers at the end, she actually realizes that he's her brother, but the police kill him. I think they should have went with, we should have went with that ending.
Yeah.
But I think I don't remember. I think I watched the unrated on. I know I watched the unrated on the first one because I wanted to see, I guess Rob's true vision of it, and I can't remember. It may have been the unrated of Halloween 2, but one part I hated was when Michael kills Loomis and he yells, "Die!" I just, that took me out of it at the moment right there.
Now, now in the theatrical cut, he doesn't yell die.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't yell die. That's the thing. It's like, now you have to go by the unrated version.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't believe that. Yeah, they made Michael talk. I was like, and his first word we ever hear him say on screen is "die." I was like, well, there's one for the baby book. So his first word, I don't know, it just messed up. I hated that.
Oh my god! Like, if you're gonna have Michael talk, do it one time and have. I'll plead guilty. I did have Michael talk in a story, but it's as a kid, and it's on October 30th, and Judith Myers is sitting at the table in the kitchen, And Michael's standing there, and she doesn't seem any. She looks up and she goes, "Let me guess. The boogeyman's coming. The boogeyman's coming. Keep saying the boogeyman's coming. Will you stop?" And she's smiling. He's not smiling. And he says, "No, Judith, I'm already here," and walks off.
Mm-hmm.
And so, whether you have Michael talk or not is really an option up to a writer, but be careful with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, then just don't. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay not to.
Right. Exactly.
I think it is assumed that he talked as a child. I even did in my story, my first Halloween story. Of course, mine was a hallucination, but still, Michael Myers was a child in it.
Yeah. What's the one, or what's something you guys want to see them do with the next Halloween?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Like, I wouldn't mind if they unretconned or whatever you want to call it, um, and continued off of Resurrection, or screw it, ignore Resurrection and continue off H2O.
Yeah. Mark, what do you want to say?
Um. If we're doing Michael Myers, I don't know. Um. I'm just not sure. Because it seems like we've gotten, a lot of really good stories with different timelines, with him, not being supernatural with this, with this latest trilogy, and then, the Thorn Curse, that, the Cold of Thorn. I thought that was good. Um, and then the sister connection of him, going after Lori because he wanted to kill his family. I guess I can't think of a good uh, a good starting point, um, for another movie with Michael. So, but I'll be happy to, whoever comes up with something, and if we are able to get him back on screen again, I'll be one of the first ones in the seats to want to see what they present, what they bring to it.
I think as long as they go with a decision and stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to do the sister connection, then don't. If you do, then do, and do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know where they're going to start. If they decided to do the sister connection, where do you start from? I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, do
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, because everybody's views vary, so
Mm-hmm.
where do you start from?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest question with the sister. Do you start from H2O? Do you start from Resurrection? Do you try to, if you start from Halloween 6, do you tie the timeline together? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the constant question. So we'll see what they do. Let me stop recording, guys, and I'll talk to you guys for a second, for a couple minutes.
Have a good
Oh,
night.
okay.
Have a
Yeah,
good
have a good
night,
night.
everybody.